So welcome, and today it's something a little bit different. A lot of the guys have been asking me to run through a bit of a reel service. Now I'm doing this particularly for the kayak fishing guys. What I do find is with reels that are brought to me by the kayak guys, they are in a lot worse condition than somebody who was, say, a ski boater. The reason for that is your reels are sitting closer to the water and obviously getting more salt spray, more salt splash on those reels. There's a few ways to overcome that. I must say, having rods with longer butts is actually something that helps a lot. So I tend to use the Leviathan, Assassin Leviathans. They are beautiful rods. They come in all different strengths, medium, heavies, mediums, and all of that. So, and they have the longer butt. And anyway, so what I'm going to do is, this is the Saltist, the black and gold Saltist. It's a reel that is actually discontinued, unfortunately. They are probably one of my favorite reels for a ski, quite easy to service. But I'm going to run through a service with you so you can do it yourself. It's really simple. I know a lot of guys can't be bothered and it's just more about time. But if you want to give it a shot, here's how to do it. I'm going to do a step-by-step disassembly and assembly and just show you how to service the drag washers, just how to reassemble, just a few things to watch out for. And we'll take it from there. Okay, so SL Saltist, 40H, beautiful reels, really lovely to work on. So what you're going to start, obviously you're going to take off that little lock nut. I actually loosened these prior to the service, just because I didn't want to sit battling. A lot of reels come to me in a really bad way, and he sit for ages. Corrosion is a big thing when two different metals connect, and you'll often sit battling to get things off. This tool comes with most of your reels. You'll get it everywhere. Let's take off that nut. Just when you're putting it back, also don't over tighten. And you'll see what I'm doing, just putting everything in place in a row. Do that and then take photos, and you will get to know exactly how you took it apart and how you can put it back together. This isn't so bad. Okay, and then let's take off that star drag. Okay, and then inside there we have a clicker and one washer inside there. Okay, so like I said, put it back the same way as you found it, and you won't have a problem. Okay, there's two percussion washers. They're cupped and they sit on top of each other like that. Okay, so up next we've got a bearing shield washer, basically the bearing. So let me just rather remove the whole case and we'll show it to you from there. Okay, so I removed those screws. 5 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then from there you can start cracking the body. Okay, so let me put that down for a second. You'll see here, there's that bearing shield I was talking about. It sits on top of the bearing. Let's just put that in place. and there's the bearing there. Okay, so when you're removing bearings, just be super careful. I was fortunate enough to be gifted a nice set of removal tools from Bearing Bad Tool, Ernie. What a super guy. Gifted me a whole set of these tools, guy from America, and they work like a bomb. He's given me the hammer slide tools, and it really has been an absolute blessing and help. So yeah, thanks to Ernie for that. So yeah, there you can see I've removed that bearing. Bearing's still, it's quite greased up. It's not, might just replace that. Okay, and there we have the free spool. That's in fairly decent condition. I'm not going to take anything off here. There's a little circlip here. You don't have to do that unless it's really giving you problems. Spool tensioner, let's take that off. You'll see with these screws, I'll often just put a bit of Q20 on them. I always put the screws back with grease. It just makes it so much easier to take off. Okay. So here we have the main gear coming off here now. So I'm going to put that back because that shouldn't have come off. Okay, so your main gear and all your washers, we'll remove those later. And underneath that main gear is that washer that sits like that. So we know how that goes. Okay, so here's your anti-reverse, and that sits like that. And you'll see it go that way, but it can't go back that way. Your pinion gear. And this is an important thing here. Okay, so your pinion gear sits over the spool here. Sits over this main shaft of the spool, and you'll see it's got two little ridges there, and you'll see over there, that pin there, it sits in that pin, and that's what turns your spool. So pull that off. Now, an important thing about this is you'll see it is ramped, and it's got like a bevel on it. Now that bevel has to be underneath, so when it moves to free spool and lock spool, it moves along there. So just so you know, just keep that in mind. That's an important part. Okay. There's another bearing here. I'm going to remove that, and then I'll remove the spool, and we'll check there's a bearing spool here, and we'll check on the other side too once that's it, but we'll check that bearing. There's a bearing right here, right there, but it feels pretty good. But this reel was greased up quite heavily, you can see, but it's gone quite sticky. So it's not really serving the purpose that it should be serving. The reel's definitely got a bit slower. Okay, so I'm going to take that off and the shaft, and I will show you what it looks like when I've got it off. Okay, so I've loosened these 3 screws over here. Like I said, take photos. I know it seems simple, but sometimes it's not. That slides off like that main shaft there. Put that down. Put that with the 3 screws. We all know where that goes. And there's a bearing here. To remove that bearing, sometimes a little bit harder, but there we go. Perfect. Love the tool. Just so much easier to remove these bearings. and that bearing is good. There's a little felt washer that sits in between that bearing, well, in the middle of that bearing. I'll just put that on the top of that. There. Okay, so now to remove the spool, we have to go to that side. There's 3 screws there. Let's check this out. Okay, so we've removed those 3 screws. Okay, so those 3 screws are out, and sometimes if it's a little bit sticky, you just tap the top of the spool and it pops that out. We'll put that there. Oh, this line has been wound on quite horribly, so I can't actually get the spool off without taking some line off. Okay, so got the spool off. You'll see I've just taped it up so we don't get grease in that on the reel, on the line. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to give all these parts a good clean. This bearing should be fine too. I'll clean that and oil that. And then I will see you when everything's cleaned up and we will reassemble. Okay, so the drag washers, this is what that all looks like. Carbon Tex. You'll have an eared washer there. You'll see it's got little things on the side. Another Carbon Tex. Washer there, and finally at the bottom, the last Carbon Tex. They're all lined up. And yeah, I'll give this a good clean, give the gear a good clean, get all that grease off it and any little particles off that too. Okay, so we've done a little bit of a clean up. Side plates, just greased them. Like I said, I didn't remove the free spool lever. You can always do that if it is giving problems or it's stiff. You can. Unfortunately, these reels don't actually have spares anymore, so it is a bit of a problem. So that's that, and then your clicker. You'll see there's a little gap there. I put some oil in there. Same thing. Haven't taken it off because it's working perfectly. If it's not working, then you have to start playing around with the clicker itself. You can bang that little pin there a little bit sometimes to get it to work a bit better. But yeah, so those 2 are already greased up. What I'll start with is the main body. Remember I took that bearing out of there. It is a open bearing, so it hasn't got a shield. So I put a bit of grease in there and pretty much just stuff it in there, and then you'll see how that grease comes out. It's got a little felt washer that sits there, and put a little bit of corrosion block on that grease, on the bearing, should I say. Okay, then this plate sits like that. Obviously the shaft goes in first. You'll notice it's got a beveled edges. Those are 2 ways to put it on. There's only one way to put it on, should I say. Goes like that, and like that. 3 screws. put a little bit of grease here too, just over there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I have oiled that bearing, that spool bearing, and I will put a little bit of grease here onto that cog there, and pretty much fit it in. Now, if that bearing was jammed, you would have to remove this pin here, that pin over there. Bit of a difficult one sometimes. I've got a little special tool that removes it. Otherwise you'd have to use an offset jaw to push it and then tap it out gently. If you're tapping it out, do not put your spool down on a hard surface, because I promise you, you will just ding your spool. It will just become square. So just keep that in mind. Okay, there we go there. Okay, that sits like that. You can see that bearing there that we just showed you. So I will put the side plate back on. There's 3 screws to line up here. 1, 2, and 3. Pretty simple. There we go. And for screws, I like to just do a little touch of grease on them before I put them in. So if you've got any like queries or anything, you're welcome to send messages to me. Take pics, and I will try and help you as much as I can. See, that ratchet's working nicely, and bearing could be a bit better there, but it's spinning. Okay, this is called a yoke. Now, it's got a special way of going in. So what I'd like to do before I do that is I just put a little bit of grease on the spool body, and it sits like that. 2 little ridges, and it sits in those. So, and this is the yoke. So the yoke plate and the yoke. Now your pinion bearing goes in with the yoke, and you'll notice this yoke is flat on one side, but it's got a slight bevel there. The bevel must always face down because it catches on these 2 little ramps. Okay, so put it down like that, and you can see if I pull it back like that, if I push it forward or down, that's what engages your free spool. So just remember that. That's one of the most important things. Just greasing up this pinion gear a little bit. There's 2 little washers that go there, and those springs sit on top of it. Okay, so that's pretty simple, that. So the main gear I have cleaned up, and all the washers I've cleaned up too. So we'll get ready to put those in now too. Okay, this is your anti-reverse ratchet and your anti-reverse pawl. You'll see it's got a little gap there, and it sits like that, and that can only go one ways. So it's your anti-reverse technically. Put that in, and you'll see there's a little pippy that sits out there that it sits on, and that's how that sits there. Okay, there's a washer that goes on top of that. Put a little bit of oil there. I like to oil the main gear. Sorry, not oil it, just put a bit of grease on it, but don't go too wild. And that's fine. And drop it into position. You'll see straight away when it is dropped into position, and you'll see how the grease is meshing, or the gears are meshing, the pinion gear and the main gear are meshing, and that the grease is sort of meshing in there. Okay. Now, you've got your Carbon Tex washers. This Coles Real Grease is about the best you can do. Some guys run the dry, but Coles Real Grease, it's expensive, but it is the best stuff to use for, if you want a nice smooth drag, then use that. And don't have to use too much, but really just push it into those Carbon Tex washers. Next one is the silver washer. Another Carbon Tex. Now you'll also notice that I'm not first installing all the washers into the main gear before putting it on. It's just so much easier like this. This is the eared washer. You see it's got two little ears there. Fits in that little gap there. Another one here. Another Carbon Tex, should I say. Really rub that in. Goes there. And there. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so we've got our main gear, our pinion gear, two springs, the ramps, and this collar here sits straight over there. There's two ways it can go, and there's only one right way. You'll notice a little gap there, and it's rounded on the top, so it goes like that. Push that down, and then the bearing. This bearing, I did try oil it, but I'm not too happy with it, so I'm actually going to replace it. I think it's 8x14x4. Yes. Okay, you'll see also this roller clutch over here. It can come out, but I'm not going to take it out. It's in really good condition, so yeah, let's leave that like that. Okay, so here's it, putting back together. Slides on quite nicely. There we go. So there should actually be two bearing shields there, but there's only one. Normally you have a bearing shield on both sides of the bearing. Okay, let's just get this. Let's get these screws in. Okay, just tightening the last of the body screws. And that's that. Sometimes you just need something to push that bearing down with. And then we've got our two percussion washers, and those are cupped and they both go in on top of each other, cupped. So you'll see they're rounded. They have to go like that. Well, suppose it just depends. The way you put them on will depend on how your drag works. So touch a little grease on that, on the top of that, and add on. Okay, we're almost there. Just a little bit of grease on that thread, a little bit of grease around there, and we're all good too. You'll notice the clicker will activate now as it goes down. A little bit of corrosion on this handle here. Amazing what a little bit of oil can do just on these handles. You can open it up, there's just no need to open it up. But if you want to, it's over there. Like I said, there's no spares for these guys. So any of these Daiwa Saltist black and golds, just look after them. They're amazing reels, but you just do have to look after them. Okay, so handle on. Almost there. Okay. Try not to. There's a lock screw here. You have to line it up, but just try not to over tighten this. It's not good to over tighten that nut. You will just have problems in the near future if you do. Like I said earlier, that's where your corrosion seems to come. It's different metals mixing, and that's where the problems seem to start. Okay. And that's that. Like I said, if you want to send me a reel that you would like me to actually look at or maybe do for a video, I could do that too. But yeah, that's the Daiwa Saltist 40H. You get that's the black and gold. You get the new one now is the black and blue. Very similar, just when you do open up the main case, a few more screws to remove. So I hope this has given you a bit of an idea of how simple it actually is. Just follow a few sets of rules, take photos. You'll see this board I've made here. It's got a rail. You don't want anything flying off. And I promise you, if you've just got stuff lying on top of a desk, it is going to fly off. So have a tray or something like that, or some ice cream tubs, or just some tubs just to put stuff in. And you'll definitely be able to do it. Cool, hope this helped.